Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go. Oh, your weather coverage. We have more big storms ahead with multiple days of severe weather through next week. And then the heat becomes the big story as we head into later next week, especially across the Great Plains and the Midwest with record high temperatures possible. And then the tropics are starting to ramp up into late June. Could we have a hurricane developing in the Atlantic basin? We'll get into those details later on in today's video. But if you guys are not yet subscribed to the channel, it's absolutely free to subscribe. You press the subscribe button down below and you're in. You get all of my detailed weather breakdowns on North America, including southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics on this channel. And I do a lot of those breakdowns throughout the week. So be sure to press the subscribe button down below. It's very helpful as well to press the like button. It's the thumbs up button down below the video. It helps to get all of this weather information out to as many people as possible. So I appreciate all the new subscribers and all of the likes on today's video as well. So let's get into the weather forecast from yesterday. It was an extremely busy day, again, as anticipated, across the southern plains and the lower Mississippi Valley, even a little spot up here into the eastern Ohio Valley that actually had a tornado reported near Detroit yesterday as well. We actually had 7 tornado reports across the United States, 211 wind reports, 113 hail reports for a grand total of 331 severe weather reports going back to your Thursday, June 15th. And the severe weather starts to prevail yet again today. So we have another threat of severe weather, a much lower threat than yesterday, but it is there. And we have a level 1 and 2 out of 5 in the dark green and yellow shaded colors here from portions of the Front Range of the Rockies into eastern Colorado, south and eastbound here in toward the Gulf Coast, and a little area up here in towards southern New Jersey, getting into portions of Delaware, Maryland, and eastern Virginia, where we have to worry about some severe weather as well. The tornado threat today is maximized across eastern Colorado and western Kansas. That is where the highest probability for tornadoes will be later on today. And you're looking here at these visible satellite imagery of what the radar could look like, or the satellite imagery could look like later on here this evening. And you do see a complex of storms developing later on today here across the Front Range into eastern Colorado. That will spill eastward into southwestern Nebraska and western Kansas. A couple more storms ahead of the boundary down here across the Mid-South toward the Memphis region, Little Rock, getting down there toward Jackson, Mississippi. We'll be watching that. And then we have a couple of storms billowing up across portions of the Northeast as well in the Mid-Atlantic, across southern New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and eastern Virginia this evening. And that complex of storms will really take over the main story of severe weather going into your Saturday morning as it roars through western portions of Kansas and into southwestern Nebraska. A couple more isolated supercells could pop up there across South Texas and towards the New Orleans region as we go into your Saturday morning. Then as we go into Saturday, the threat pushes back farther to the south across portions of the central and southern plains and the Gulf Coast again, with another marginal to slight risk for severe storms. And then that shifts again further to the southeast on Sunday, Father's Day, on June 18th, with a much more concentrated area of severe storms from Little Rock down here towards Shreveport, in toward the Jackson region, and also Montgomery, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, as we go in toward your Father's Day itself. And over the next few days, we will be seeing that belt of rainfall moving across the same areas that we've seen the rainfall for the past several days and the past several weeks. So we will be adding on to our totals from today all the way through your Monday morning to start the new work week on June 19th. We'll be seeing some decent rains here from portions of eastern Colorado into Nebraska, western Iowa, definitely some beneficial rains up here, and then that will dive southeast with the heaviest of the rains from the Little Rock region down through Jackson, Mississippi, and the Mobile area in towards Alabama. So we definitely have to watch out for that. And not just counting North Florida, the Orlando area, Tampa Bay, yeah, we could be seeing some decent rains through the weekend as well. So starting up here around Little Rock, there's a decent chance of around an inch of rain there, around an inch there in Memphis, 2 inches of rain possible down here into the Jackson, Mississippi region. And then down here in toward Mobile, Alabama, northwestern Florida, the Orlando region, a widespread swath of 3 to 6 inches is a good bet through the weekend and into early next week. So definitely watch out for any flash flooding concerns across those regions. Turning to the temperature trends, well, starting this weekend, we're going to have a lot of these disturbances moving over the northern periphery of an upper level ridge that really is starting to build across Mexico and the Rio Grande Valley down here into South Texas. So it will take time for the heat to build northward. But once it does, it will be all steam ahead with all of this heat building into southeastern Canada, the upper Midwest, and the Central Plains by early next week on Tuesday, June 20th. And that will really take us into the better half of next week through Thursday, June 22nd. That heat really goes nowhere with an omega blocking pattern with a trough across the west coast and a trough underneath across the southeast coast as we go into later next week. So as such, with the disturbances over the top today here of that ridge, we have cooler temperatures relative to what we see down here into Texas, and that will continue through Father's Day as well. So we have more of the 70s and 80s over the northern periphery of that ridge across the Central Plains, the Midwest, and the eastern side of the country here. The triple digit marks will be down here in towards southern Texas going through Father's Day. So Brownsville up to Corpus Christi, Houston, maybe up as far north as the Waco region into Texas. We could be seeing 100, 105 degree high temperatures here as we go into Father's Day. That'll lift further north. Like I said, all steam ahead with this upper level ridge will build well far to the north here across the international border into Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba here into Canada, and on Tuesday, widespread 90s all the way up here into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, portions of Iowa there, Illinois on Tuesday, and that really continues in a big way through next week, which will also dry us out across this region as well, because look at this, guys. This is some dire situation starting to develop across portions of the central Great Lakes region. We don't see much hope for rainfall through the next week across this region. So yes, it'll be heating up, but unfortunately, we're not seeing a lot of rainfall. So the drought conditions will continue to worsen in a big way across the Midwest and especially the central Great Lakes region centered around Michigan, eastern Wisconsin, and the northern Ohio Valley. But underneath that, that's where all the rainfall will be, the active jet stream, the active severe weather, heavy rainfall threat with the heaviest of the rains across the southeast and into Florida there going through next weekend on Saturday, June 24th. But like I said, it's not a good situation across the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley, the Midwest. We're already seeing moderate drought with pockets of severe drought developing there in towards Chicago and southward, even some extreme drought developing there into Missouri. So we really could use a good drink of water, but unfortunately, we're not seeing a lot of that. We could see some help into western Iowa, Nebraska, and Missouri at times, but I don't think we're going to see much rainfall in the upper Midwest or the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley very much as we go through the next work week, unfortunately. So we will be hoping for rain, crossing our fingers up here over the next 7 to 10 days, probably having to do the rain dance at times because we desperately need the rainfall. But turning to the tropical weather update, across the eastern Pacific Ocean, we have a couple tropical waves moving over the open waters. Not that big of a deal, but there is a 30% chance of development off the Mexico coast here across the eastern Pacific Ocean here through the next couple of days. And we see this here today. One of these disturbances tries to get going over the open waters, but it's really moving too quick to do anything. But then by the time we get into Father's Day on Sunday, June 18th, we have a new system, a new tropical wave pushing across the open waters of the eastern Pacific Basin. This could have a little bit more of the legs with it and push further to the west. We could see this develop into a tropical depression, perhaps, maybe a low-end tropical storm by the time we get into early and middle portion of next week, but this will be over the open waters and be no threat to the North America coast here at all. So that is some good news. But looking at the waves, not really a threat here for waves going through the weekend. Maybe some elevated waves for parts of Mexico Mexico on Sunday, but then by the time we get to the middle of the week, this will all be pushing to the west, and we'll see normal wave action across coastal Mexico into the Central Americas as we go in towards the middle of next week. Now, turning to the tropics in the Atlantic side, the Caribbean and the Gulf, we are seeing some things that are getting a little bit more concerning moving forward toward the end of June here. We have a couple of tropical waves well far to the south here with that strong Bermuda high pressure system over the tropical Atlantic, but the National Hurricane Center has increased the odds of a tropical development across portions of the southern tropical Atlantic here with a 50% chance of development over the next 5 to 7 days, really over the open waters of the southern Atlantic. But we have to watch this because model congruency is starting to agree that there could be something big lurking as we get towards late June. So looking first at the European forecast model, this is just the precipitable water anomaly showing you where these tropical waves will be. So today, our big tropical wave is just off the coast there of Africa, and this will be pressing its way westbound. By the time we get to Father's Day, the European model is saying, hey, we may have already a tropical depression already starting to form here by Sunday, and this could turn into a full-blown tropical storm, if not a low-end hurricane, by the time we get in toward the middle of next week by Wednesday, June 21st, according to the European model, dropping this to a 996 millibar low. In comparison, the GFS, the American model, is similar, but a little bit weaker with the system, but still has more of a tropical depression or tropical storm with this by Wednesday, and somewhat the Canadian model, the CMC guidance, is showing this as well. So there is model congruency with a Bermuda high further to the north across the central tropical Atlantic with the waves moving underneath that, and we have to be watching this if you live into the Lesser Antilles and the Windward Island region as we get through next week and especially next weekend. So we have to consider that as we move forward. And why it's so concerning, the sea surface temperature anomalies are almost off the charts for this time of year across the Atlantic here, the Caribbean, and really to some extent the Gulf as well. And it's going to have no short supply of warm waters to work with as it pushes off Africa here toward the Windward Islands going through next week. And looking at climatology here from June 21st through the 30th, we've had one storm pop up here across the southern tropical Atlantic before, and it's actually moved into the Caribbean and up toward the United States as well. Not to say this one will do the same, but we really have to watch this as we move forward toward late June and perhaps in towards early July. Well, if you want additional weather forecast updates in addition to this video and this channel, press the description down below the video and follow me on Twitter at hweather420. I definitely appreciate that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching my video. All the new subscribers, the old subscribers, all the supporters out there, thank you so much for making this a part of your day as well. I do appreciate it. Like the video down below if you have not already by pressing the thumbs up button. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Friday, everybody. A great Father's Day weekend, and I will see you all in the next video.